All right, let's go ahead and factor some quadratics today. We're going to start with 3x squared minus 10x plus 8. Now, as we do this, this is going to relate to what we were doing when we were multiplying binomials. What we're going to do is we're going to take these pieces and just insert them into our area model. So for example, 3x squared, where did our leading term always end up? Was right there in the first box, 3x squared. And then where did our constant always end up? That was over here at positive 8 in that fourth box. Now, every time we did these problems, we have to relate back to that. We realized that, hey, these two diagonal boxes right here would add to this middle term. So I'm going to put that right here as negative 10x. And I'm going to put it on this line here and says, and add to get negative 10x. Now, as we were also doing this, we were looking at some patterns, but we realized that there was a relationship between this 3x squared and that 8. And what we do was we multiply those. So 3x squared times 8, and that is essentially just 24x squared. Now, what they do is that's multiplying on the diagonal. So the factored pair, or the numbers that we have to find, have to multiply to 24x squared, and then they add to get that negative 10x. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 24 and we're going to start finding numbers that multiply to it. We're just going to make some lists. So for example, like 1x times 2x, 24x, I'm sorry, or 2x times 12x, or 3x times 8x, and we've got 4x times 6x, and all of these will give us 24. Now, what we need to do is find which one of these sets right over here will get us a negative 10x. Okay, well, let's think about it. We are multiplying to a positive, and then since we're multiplying to a positive 24x squared and adding to a negative, that would mean that both numbers must be negative. So in other words, I'm just going to make them all negative, not just one of them, just both of them. Now, what I do is I go through and I start asking myself the question, what ones will add to negative 10x? Well, negative 1 plus negative 24 won't. Negative 2 plus negative 12 is negative 14. That won't. Negative 3 plus negative 8 is negative 11. That won't add to negative 10. But what about negative 4 plus negative 6? That will give us negative 10x. So once we have our values, negative 4 plus negative 6 is negative 10, I'm just going to take those numbers and I'm going to insert them into our box. So negative 4x and negative 6x. All right. So we've got our lines figured out. We've got all of our boxes figured out. Well, what do we do now? Well, we've got to factor. In fact, we've got to find our greatest common factor. We're going to find our greatest common factor. And how we're going to do that is we're simply just going to pick one of the rows and we're going to work from there. So what is the greatest common factor from 3x squared minus 6? So what is the greatest number that'll divide 3 and negative 6? Well, that is 3. And both of them have an x squared, and then the next one has an x, but the greatest amount we can take out is only one of those x's. So the greatest common factor must be 3x. All right, now that 3x is our key. That's the key. Once we've got this, all we got to do is go through and start asking ourselves the question, to fill up the line. Well, how do we fill this line in when we're talking about multiplication? So let's do it. 3x times what will give me 3x squared? Well, 3x times x will give me 3x squared. Okay, once I've got that line filled in, I'm now going to go to the next one. I'm going to say, okay, well, what times 3x is going to give me negative 6x? Okay, so 3x times negative 2, 3x times negative 2 will give me negative 6x. Okay, And I've got that line filled in. Now I'm going to go to the next line. I'm going to say, okay, I got to figure out this guy right here. Well, what do I do? Well, I have an X right here. Let's use this X as our tool. X times what will give us negative 4X? Well, X times negative 4 will give us negative 4X. And then I just like to go ahead and check the last one just to make sure it's right. So negative 4 times negative 2 is going to give me a positive 8. All right, once I've got that, I've actually went ahead and got all of my factors. I know that the first one will be X minus 2, and the other one will be 3X minus 4. And it actually doesn't matter which order you put those in. So in our Desmos, you're just simply going to come over here and you're going to say, okay, the first red line, red line is right there. It is 3X. The second red line is the one that has the minus 4. The first blue line is X. The second blue line is minus 2. And then what you're going to do is you're just simply going to type in your factors. So 3X minus 4 in parentheses times X minus 2. Like I said, it does not matter which order you put those in. So X minus 2. Once you've got those in, you're going to check your expressions and hopefully you get all check marks. All right, so we're going to be factoring quadratics today using the area model. And what you're going to want to do is make sure that you're checking your work with Desmos as we're working through this process.